Moderator John Dickerson is with us. Good morning.
Hello, Charlie.
With the victory of John Kasich in Ohio, denying Donald Trump with 66 delegates, does that mean that the Republicans who oppose Donald Trump can now stop him from getting enough delegates before the convention?
They sure hope so. I mean, they see this, it's a glimmer for them. The idea is that they stop Trump from getting that 1,237, but that requires them continuing to stop him along the line. And the question is whether they do that, whether Senator Cruz peels those delegates away from Trump in the future contest, or whether Kasich does, and we'll just have to see that play out. But it gives them a little hope.
But I know it's really early in the morning, and so I apologize for making you do the math. But for John Kasich to win the nomination, he would have to win what, like 115% of the delegates from
he'd have to bring some new states into the union, get those states to create delegates, and then win those delegates.
That's not his strategy, is it?
Right. The strategy is to stop Trump and then get to Cleveland, where the convention will be held, and then have a convention fight. But even in that strategy for John Kasich, he's got somebody in front of him, who is Ted Cruz. Yeah. And Ted Cruz will have delegates there. He'll be closer to Trump. But Trump will have a strong argument at the convention, which is likely to be, I have more delegates than anybody else. And even if he doesn't get to the magic number, he'll have more delegates. And that's a strong argument for him.
And what do you make of Marco Rubio? The polls closed in Florida at 8 o'clock. By 8:13, he was in front of the camera saying, I'm out. Yeah. And what did you make of his speech? You talked about fractured party, fractured nation.
The speech was in the dark almost. And that was both its content and the way it looked. Because he said there's no more hope and optimism in this race. And that was a pretty extraordinary thing to say, that hope and optimism are gone from the race. He congratulated himself for not being angry and running his campaign on anger. He didn't mention Donald Trump's name, but that's exactly what he was aiming at.
And where do his supporters go now, do you think?
I think they probably go a little bit to Kasich, but some might also go to Cruz as the way to stop Donald Trump. So we'll have to see. But I think they probably go a little bit more to Kasich, but probably split to both.
An interesting point in the New York Times today by Michael Barbaro saying, but Donald J. Trump and Hillary Clinton's resounding triumphs on Tuesday mask a profound, historic, and unusual reality. Most Americans still don't like him or her.
Yeah, we haven't had this for a long time. Maybe you go back to Grover Cleveland versus James G. Blaine, two nominees of parties who had big challenges facing them. And that's, we're going to have to figure out how that goes. But we've at the moment got people who are not seen by the larger electorate as honest and trustworthy. In Ohio, 30% of the Republicans said they wouldn't vote for Trump. These are candidates with issues.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Good to
So we've got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church, and I love God, and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale, was my pastor. The Power of Positive Thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great. He would give a sermon, you never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons, and every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right, even though we're Christian. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real-life situations, modern-day situations, into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, he passed away, but he was a great... He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go in church and when I drink my little wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed, okay? But, to me, that's important. I do that. But in terms of officially, I could say absolutely, and everybody, I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
So let's, again, you've gone into it. If I don't ask this question, this audience will be disappointed. Straight question. What is your relationship with God?
Well, I pray. I go to church. Do I do things that are wrong? I guess so. You know, I'm a business person. I really do well at business. I've done great. I've made some of the great deals. I own some of the greatest properties in the world. Am I
God
totally?
help you do these great deals?
I think God helped me. Personally, I think God helped me. I think, you know, look, God helped me by giving me a certain brain, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I went through a phenomenal school, the Wharton School of Finance, which is said to be the greatest business school in the world. I did really well there. I was a great student. So, I mean, I was born with a certain intellect that is good for this. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up. Crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, you know, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured.
I'm pleased that I am able to meet President Trump so early in his administration. That is a sign of the strength of the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States of America, a special relationship on which he and I intend to build. But can I also say to the Leader of the Opposition, I am not afraid to speak frankly to a President of the United States. I am able to do that because we have that special relationship.
Well, British Prime Minister Theresa May expected to speak as well at the GOP gathering today in Philadelphia as we await the president's remarks around noon Eastern time. She meets with Mr. Trump tomorrow at the White House, the first foreign leader to visit during his presidency and also, of course, during his first week. This comes as the UK reports some growth in the past quarter despite the news of the Brexit that will take place. And Prime Minister May is expected to tell Republicans the US and the UK can lead the world together. Now, Gardner is director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom at the Heritage Foundation. Niall, it's nice to have you on the program. We talk often about this special relationship. We put it in capital letters sometimes as well. How would you define the nature of our special relationship with Britain in 2017?
Well, I think it's going to be a lot stronger now that you have Theresa May as Prime Minister and Donald Trump as the President. And I do believe that the White House meeting tomorrow between the British Prime Minister and the US President will be a very, very robust, strong meeting, sending a very clear message that the United States and Great Britain will be working together to lead the world, as Theresa May has said. And I think that on both sides of the Atlantic, you know, we have a sense of renewal, a new sense of leading on the world stage. Brexit, of course, will be a great benefit to Great Britain. It'll also be very good for the US-UK special relationship. And I think this is a tremendous opportunity for the two most powerful leaders in the world to stand united, leading on the world stage and sending a very clear message that Great Britain and the United States will stand together in the face of an array of threats globally.
Brexit, of course, was controversial, still is at this very moment. There are those that believe in it, those that don't think it's a good idea. Theresa May obviously believes in the way forward on that. Before we get into a few of those specific issues, Niall, I'm just wondering how you see, when you saw the headlines, this is going to be the first meeting. We should mention not a formal state visit, but the first meeting by a foreign leader. What went through your mind, and why do you think it is significant?
Yeah, I think it is very, very significant. And it does send a clear signal that Great Britain really matters in terms of US strategic interests. And the fact that it's Theresa May coming over to Washington and not, say, for example, Angela Merkel, it speaks volumes in terms of the importance of the special relationship between the US and the UK. Also, I think Theresa May has emerged as a very tough, strong leader. I think she's someone who is likely to work very well with Donald Trump and advance common interests. And I think that you're going to see a very, very different tone struck now compared to the tone when Barack Obama was president, who was very lukewarm towards the United Kingdom. He wasn't really a big believer in the special relationship. All of that is changing now.
Do you mind, I hope you don't mind the bluntness of this question, but what's in it for the United States with this relationship with Britain today?
Well, it's a very good question. I think there's a great deal in it for the United States. Great Britain is by far the most important ally for America on the world stage. And in times of war and conflict, for example, Great Britain is always standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States. There's also a huge economic relationship between the US and the UK. Great Britain is the biggest foreign direct investor into the United States. 1 million US jobs depend upon British investment. Also, there's $5 trillion worth of US investment or assets held in the United Kingdom. That's about 22% of total US overseas assets. So there's a lot at stake as well in terms of economic cooperation in addition to defense and intelligence cooperation.
What trying to do with talk like that is have the press say, you know, this guy, he talks pretty tough, and I'm worried about what the corporate upper tier of the boardroom people think. I'm worried about what my news director may think. That's what this is designed to do. This is designed to intimidate the press. And this is gut check time for the press. Real gut check time. And either the press will do its job and say, listen, we're playing no favorites, we're pulling no punches. Our job is to ask the tough questions. And by the way, we're going to investigate such things and really dig into what is your relationship with Putin? What is all this talk about the Russians? I'll tell you, I'm confident that enough of the press is going to do that we're going to be okay.
What he doesn't realize is that a lot of us got into it because that kind of stuff doesn't scare us. It just inspires us to do better. Yeah. And to, you know, and to check him. And as my friend Megan Kelly said, journalists need to steel their spines, and I think we have. And we
well, amen to that.
Yeah.
And I think you will see American journalists do that. They'll treat Donald Trump fairly, right? But they're not going to cave to him.
No way. We're the fourth estate. Well, we're part of the checks and balances of
the country. And I do think America understands that. Yeah. That you need checks and balances. Yeah. We want him to be a strong president, but not a strong man in the sense that you've had Eva Peron or Fidel Castro be a strong man.
I got to run. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
We'll be right back.
Thanks.